Welcome to Beyond the Box. Inside, outside, upside, downside, beyond the box.
Break it down.
Our guests are insiders, now on the outside and the right side, dropping truth and nuclear intel bombs and breaking it down just for you. And now it's time to meet your hosts and co-hosts. Your hosts of Beyond the Box are Brenda Lankarge and Suzanne Hott. Brenda Lankarge is host of Beyond the Box and retired law enforcement. Joined by Suzanne Hott, host of Beyond the Box, Joel's Indoor Arena and Event Center, and White Horse Productions. They are joined by Tom Althouse, Brian Sang, and Penny L.A. Shepard. Brian Sang, co-host Beyond the Box, is Full Disclosure Now Movement, fulldisclosuremovement.org. Tom Althouse, co-host Beyond the Box, is the real author of The Matrix, The Immortals, and The Matrix Redeemed. And Penny L.A. Shepard, executive producer and co-host of David Zublick's Awake Nation, The Dark Outpost, Patriots Perspective, and Beyond the Box. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Break it down.
Inside, outside, upside, downside, beyond the box. Beyond the Box begins now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Beyond the Box. Today is May 11th, 2024. Tonight, we will have Tommy Edwards with us, and we always like listening to what Tommy says. How was your day today, Susie?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I wasn't there. I took my day meds late, and I'm like in a land of brain fog, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it, but we are here. We're here. And we love being here.
All right.
I thought about doing a reality show where I just like keep my camera on 24/7 and like, you know, sleeping and all that stuff. And then I thought to myself, oh, that wouldn't be good because when I get out of the shower, people would just like die and call animal control on me or something. But anyways, so would you like to start us off in prayer?
All right. I will do that.
Yes.
Let's see. Okay. So if I just when I pray, you know, I talk to God just like he's like right there. Okay. And I think of him as somebody I'm closer to than anybody I've ever known or met in my entire life, right? So when I talk to him, I talk to him like Daddy, Father, and I'm thankful for him, and I'm thankful that he is who he is, and it's not necessarily the belief system of, you know, say most people or whatever the Vatican has taught, but what I see God as is a spirit, and who with when he created Barbello, the mother, and then the mother and him brought forth the first man, which is the perfect man, Jesus Christ. And so I see Jesus Christ as the Son of God. And so with that in mind of who I look up to, and not the God of this world or the God of the Old Testament Bible, you know, I will say that's who I talk to, and that's who I trust and put my faith in. And that, you know, that one day all of this is going to come to a head, and everything, all the wrongs are going to be righted, and everything's going to be corrected. And so with that, I just keep trudging forward like all of us do, moving forward, and hopefully we're all moving in the right direction, and we're all looking for the right answers. And I'm just asked for His protection over us and our on our show, and to bless everybody that's listening. And whatever we talk about, I hope that it helps somebody connect the dots so that they get answers to their life and their life gets better. That's my prayer in Jesus' mighty name.
Yep. And you know what? I've always said that if we have 50 people watching and only one person gets it, then we did what we're supposed to do. So, with that being said, let me bring in our co-hostess that does the mostest. If I can find her in the queue, there she is. I lost you.
Hola, Chiquita Bananas. ¿Cómo está?
Hello. Clear my throat for a whole hot second.
Susie, you look like a Chiquita banana.
I'm yellow. I have the bumblebee on. Look, I have the
Oh,
bee.
you do?
Said she
Wearing the bee.
she works hard for bee honey. I work hard.
That's funny. I was just looking at a show on Donna Summers.
Do what?
Oh.
She works hard for the money.
Oh,
Yeah.
I was just looking
Okay.
at that. I sang a lot of her songs.
you were just looking at that,
Yeah, I was just looking at it right before the show.
and I'm wearing she works hard
I
for the.
fast forwarded through it because I didn't have the whole time to watch it.
Okay, everything in our life, Penny, is synchronized, and Brenda too. That's the weirdest thing about us three, that we're always like Brenda and I have been finishing dreams, and Penny and I were like, I walk in and I say, "Hey, Penny, so and so is happening." She goes, "I'm reading something right now, and it's like the same thing you're just talking about. Stop doing that to me." Right?
No, it was worse than that. It was like I would be typing a word and she'd say the word to me, and I would like, stop it. And then I type another word, she'd say that word too, and I'm like, stop it.
I just come in, "Hey, I got something to tell you," and then she'd be like, "What?
I already know.
Right.
Stop doing that."
Isn't that annoying?
That's what sisters are for.
I got something
No, look.
to tell you. I already know.
What did I do? What did I do when you were sleeping and you were snoring?
What, when you videotaped me?
Yes.
And then she says, yes, I videotaped you last night and you were snoring, and I was like, give me the phone. Give me the phone.
Well, you know what counts though? She did not end up on YouTube.
I didn't broadcast it. It was,
That's right.
But I let her know.
You snore
I
when
caught
you
you snoring.
Thank you. Can I have that camera, please? Give it now.
She's like, "Are you my sister?" And I'm like,
I
"Yeah."
said, that's exactly something a little sister would do, you know. Where's the water you're supposed to drip on my head when I was sleeping and make it look like I was.
Oh Lord.
That's what sisters do. You know that. And we also
I love
tell
you,
each
Penny,
other
and I love you, Brenda, and I'm so thankful for you guys.
Well,
we tell each other secrets, secret crushes, etc. They're never to be revealed in the light of day, ever. Ever. You can never say that. Don't. Zip it.
I know.
Zip it, Chipper.
Zip it, Chipper.
So we do have
May
a
your
surprise.
teeth fall out with 1,000 fleas of camels.
we kind of have a surprise. I think he already knows, but we for our next guest, we have an announcement to make. So
Yes,
you
yes.
bring
I'm gonna
in
bring him
Mr.
in.
Tommy Edwards.
I will. Hi,
Mr.
Tommy.
Tommy.
So Tommy,
Tommy, are you in the battlefield? He should be saying, what was that?
Oh, goodness, wait.
Is that your tinfoil hat, Tommy?
What's that?
so
Can you hear us, Tommy? Can you hear
I
us?
can hear you now.
okay.
Tommy, can
Well,
you hear me?
I got something to tell you about Tommy. You know, I had said something about
It's
you
not
coming
actually
on.
just Tommy. We need to tell our
Well,
audience.
Oh yes. And
What?
I actually had mentioned to you about coming on every other Friday, right? You remember that?
Yes.
Okay. You have graduated to a co-host every Friday night.
I don't
So-
Every
know.
other Friday night.
I think I don't know what to do with my hands.
Clap your hands. And it can, and you now
With your
Can I
happy and you know it, clap your
clap
hands.
your hands. And you can now accept the award. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mr. DeMille. I'm ready for my close up.
Thank you so much. I accept this cup with
Chicken noodle.
no. It's actually corn chowder, but
Oh God, my favorite.
Really? I had
But
corn
okay.
chowder too the other day.
So do
And
I.
cornbread
I
at the
love
same
corn
time.
chowder.
I was
that-
feeling
that-
corny.
I've said that's a corny joke.
Yeah, that's kind of corny.
It is. It's you know, I don't know. You get plenty of fiber there.
That is
You know,
true.
I really have to get me a pair of those glasses, Tommy. I used to have regular seeing glasses that were rose tinted, and I
You
got those before that song came out about the rose tinted glasses. And I was like, oh, check me out.
see, you get like 20 different color combinations of these for like $15 on.
Oh my
online.
God.
Yeah,
You need to send her one of those pair.
yeah, I will.
Um,
I need to get some new ones like that. I got them from one of my characters that I do, and I'd like them so much I just wear them all the time now.
what's the character's name?
This one's named Colors.
Colors?
Colors.
Colors does. It's got a Bob Ross style painting show. Except colors were colorful, and you know, it's just silliness.
I'll tell you what, Tommy had me
Colors
on
will
video,
work.
and I got to go and see where he has all his paintings hung. He's got some interesting work in there.
Well, not all of them. You just saw we saw one wall, and I got a whole box truck full of stuff. I got to.
Where is
display.
it,
So,
Tommy?
it's in Pulaski, Virginia.
Do you have, is that a place that we can go to? Is it a website?
No, it's a building where I've got some stuff hung to take pictures of it, and we had a sale there, so I was just showing it off during the sale and had stuff for sale too. But we talked about opening a gallery there. It's where I've been. One of my buddies I work with, some of the buildings downtown Pulaski that we've been beautiful Pulaski, Virginia. It's an old art. It's an old like art center, art studio kind of thing there. So we're talking about opening a gallery there. The building was a funeral home at one point.
Lovely.
Ooh,
And it's pretty haunted. Like I watched a
I
pan.
gotta go.
It was sitting on top of another can of paint. Like,
I know that's
literally
right.
just fall off by itself.
You know
And,
where I want to really go? Gettysburg.
Whew.
Hey, you know what though? A lot of people don't believe in, like people get stuck here, like they die and then they can't get past the grave or
Be sitting
like the
in
funeral
my
home.
room. No,
Yeah.
be sitting in my room in the middle of the night when they come and ask me if they're dead. When I've watched them walk through the wall and tell them, well, you've walked through the wall. You are in my room in the middle of the night. So odds are, yes, you are. And you really need to find where you need to go. And it's not here.
Do they keep coming back?
They're
Not
like,
the
talk
same
to us,
ones.
Brenda.
Well,
Talk to us.
I do get the same ones that come that just don't want to go. Like my doll has an attachment. Her name is Hannah, and she is a young girl, and she's always in my house. She drives Jack crazy because if he comes out of his room and isn't wearing anything on his feet, she likes to rub the bottom of his feet, and it freaks him out. He's like,
my
"Please tell
belief,
her to
Brenda.
stop touching me."
I know this sounds weird, but I think the little girl needs to move on, and
She
and
doesn't
it's just
want
like
to.
it
She
doesn't
does not
matter.
want to.
Yeah, I know.
I've tried
know.
with her, and I've told her. Her thing is her grandmother bought her the doll that I have. She loved this doll so much that she does not want to leave without that doll.
Well, she has to. I mean,
And
she doesn't
I've
have
thought
to,
about
but
trying
she's
to find
stuck.
out.
The poor thing
Yeah.
is stuck.
Well, she comes and goes, so she's going somewhere else. I'm not
Oh.
exactly sure where. I haven't asked her, but she does
Okay.
come and go.
Well,
But
that's a
she
good
always
that's a good
checks on that
start.
doll. Yeah,
Now, I'd like
she
to ask
always
Tommy a
does.
question.
I would just say tell her to go to Jesus. Okay. I'm just saying.
I'd
Take
like
the
to ask-
hand of Jesus.
I'd like to ask Tommy a question.
Go.
Tommy, when did you start your artwork, and why?
As soon as I could hold a crayon.
So you started when you were a child?
Yeah, I started as a child, and my grandmother noticed actually that I was really calm when I would make art. I was kind of all over the place as a kid, and if you can imagine that. And like, you know, she recognized that I was like centered and calm, and she was a psychology professor, and she also suggested that I might be dyslexic because I would draw things in mirror image. I would like copy things, you know, not trace but copy them, you know. There was this picture they had decoupaged onto an old milk can that was in front of her when you come in the front door of the foyer, and it was like General Washington with his troops. It was all these horses and folks on horseback, and I drew that picture like super detailed, but in mirror image of it. And so when I was about 10, we lived with my grandmother for a while, and she found an art tutor, somebody at Rapid University. It was a Master of Fine Arts student at Rapid University that I went and worked with on Saturdays for about a year and a half, and he taught me art theory and the college level, you know, kind of art lessons, you know, and that gave me a big jump start in my understanding of like form and depth and foreshadowing and like contrast and composition and all these things that I studied again in high school. In the 4 years I was in high school, and then I was told it was too time consuming for me to study art in college by my coaches. So I didn't get to study that in college. But they did use, and they still use one of my drawings as an official logo at Virginia Tech. It's
Wow.
with arms like this, and his arms crossed like that, and yeah, I showed it to the strength and conditioning coach because I took kind of the cartoon like bird that they had and made it more like anthropomorphically human arms and stuff like that, kind of like the Gold's Gym logo, and he asked if he could use it for the award T-shirts for the football players that made their goals in each semester, you know. And I said, sure, you know, that'd be cool. And so it was like this and had a circle around it that said sweat, blood, and there was kind of blood dripping down because the idea was to sweat so hard or work so hard that you sweat blood. And now they've had it as a helmet logo. That they have standing versions of the bird, statues all over town in Blacksburg that different businesses sponsored different artists to paint and do different colors and, you know, different, you know, color schemes stuff on them, different, you know, themes.
I hate to ask, but did you ever get any financial remuneration for it? Yeah, didn't figure. I found this article on you. It's called,
Yep.
I sent it to Brenda. Brenda, can you text it also to Susie?
What is it?
It's the Good Men Project.
Oh yeah.
It's a great article.
Is that after I wrote that I really started getting that's when I started getting like followed and like targeted
Targeted even more because of this. This was in 2000. This
19.
dated July 27, 2019 by Carol Bluestein.
Yeah, she was the editor on it.
And you did a five series.
I wrote all that series as the first part of a five-part series, and then she broke it into 5 parts. I thought I would write something that more, you know, in depth.
So
and I'm still hoping to continue that.
Can I read a little bit from it?
Yeah.
All-American touchdown Tommy Edwards serializes his story, an introduction to a lifelong battle with brain damage and bipolar disorder. Tommy Edwards is bipolar and suffers from advanced symptoms of CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. I advocate for healthy brains and athlete safety through the GMP Disposability of Men, SIG. It's such a waste to lose our loved ones to the ravages of CTE, including suicide, ALS, dementia, and self-destructive behavior fueled by pain, alcohol, and drugs. Tommy's story is important because it is a glimpse into the causes and effects of brain damage. It is a warning to all to allow their loved ones to play the game. The first time I met Tommy Edwards on Twitter, he posted a cry for help. His symptoms at that moment were unbearable. These symptoms of CTE include memory loss, confusion, impaired judgment, impulse control problems, aggression, depression, anxiety, suicidality, Parkinsonism, and eventually progressive dementia. These symptoms often begin years or even decades after the last brain trauma or end of active athletic involvement. Note they may manifest differently in every person. After a few conversations, Tommy came to our GMP call on the disposability of men, in which we focused on CTE. Everyone on that call felt his pain. And I also want to say, if there's anyone that wants to call in and ask any questions of Tommy, you can call my phone or text my phone rather, because I won't answer unless you're in my contacts at 619-779-9771. That's 619-779-9771. As reported by, after a few conversations, Tommy came to our GMP call on the disposability men, in which we focused on CTE. Everyone on that call felt his pain. Since then, Tommy has written a 5-part series on his journey to his height as touchdown Tommy and low to living in his vehicle. I've been there. I had to live in my vehicle for a period of time. As reported by John Kelly in a Washington Post article, Tommy Edwards was a standout athlete at Radford High School in Southwest Virginia, where a local sports writer bestowed the name Touchdown Tommy. In 1992, Tommy set scoring records as a running back at Virginia Tech before transferring to Boise State in 1995. There were those who said he was destined for the NFL. He didn't go that route. He turned to his first love and became a professional skateboarder and starting a skateboard company in California. It fell apart. His diagnosis was bipolar disorder. When he heard about the Virginia Tech massacre in 2007, he said, "I felt the need to do something to help because mental health issues are something I live with every day and something I manage." So he moved home and he started the Heart of Virginia Foundation, a nonprofit that works to destigmatize mental illness and encourage an increase in mental health services in the Commonwealth. In this series, Tommy Edwards will be posing and answering the question, what caused an All-American football star, mental health advocate, and hometown hero from the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia to become the target of civil rights violations, hate crimes, and a New Jersey SWAT team who was told to act by the current magistrate, the former high school coach, and current police chief, the magistrate's wife. They said he was armed, mentally ill, homicidal, and headed for a school 10 days after the Parkland High School shootings in Florida. Willful blindness and ignorance of football, CTE, and fear of change. I'm just going to read a little bit more and I'm going to ask you some questions. The Good Men Project is committed to encourage and support mentally and emotionally healthy men in society. In articles and convocast discussions, strong, solid relationships and sense of community are the best defenses against depression and suicide. This person says, I have the privilege of being his editor. I've endeavored to maintain his authentic voice, fixing only sentence structure for readability and clarity. So I'd like to ask you, I'd like to go to particularly the SWAT incident. Can you tell us how that came about?
Yeah, I got served emergency custody order papers from my kid's mom in Kansas after an incident in January where I was illegally hospitalized. The school resource officer went to my sister, who was a principal in the school system here in Radford at the time, and coerced her and pressured her to seek an ECO to have me evaluated.
What's an ECO?
It's a emergency custody order for to have somebody evaluated to see if they need to be TDO'd, which is temporary detention order, which is minimum 72-hour hold. And
so is it TDO like a Baker Act or a 5150 in California? That's what they call it, California and Florida. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like a Baker Act. So my sister went and got my mom emotionally charged up, and they went to the magistrate, whose supervisor was one of my former high school football coaches, and the supervisor of the school resource officer was his wife, who was the deputy chief of police at the time, and then she became the interim chief of police
And where was this?
in Radford, Virginia.
Okay.
And then I was taken for an assessment with a mental health expert for the state, somebody working for the mental health assessor for the community service board. And when we arrived there, and first of all, 5 police officers showed up at my business. 3 of them I had gone to school with.
Oh wow.
One of them was the assistant chief of police. No, he's currently the deputy chief of police. The other 2 are detectives, and then the current chief of police, who had been part of 8 wellness checks prior to that. Like, I just kept getting these. I mean, anytime I talk about CTE on social media, the next morning, guaranteed there'd be police at my house for a wellness check, and it wasn't anybody that I knew or in my family or friends. And it just seemed to be something that was a form of harassment. So they pick me up, take me to the assessor. Walk in the door. She's sitting there laughing, animated, like very animated to whatever the police officer standing in front of her said. Big smile on her face, and I walk in and stand there, and then she gets ignoring me while she's finishing her conversation with the police officer, and then she turns, she goes with this sour look on her face, says, "Let's go." And then exactly, so they had primed her. So then as we're going in, she asked me if I'd like a cup of coffee, because I'd driven all night from New Jersey from my girlfriend's house back to Radford, and was working on a reset of my store, just like a visual reset kind of thing. And I was closing a music venue that I had set up and ran there for 2 years, and was getting ready to sell off the back line and a bunch of stuff. And so as I'm making my cup of coffee, I said, this is a big misunderstanding. It's an argument between my family and I that spilled over onto social media, it seems like. And she said, I said I have CTE, and she says, never heard of it.
Okay, that's you're in trouble.
Like I was making it up.
Right.
This was 2018. I mean, I think the movie Concussion came out with Will Smith like 2008.
Do you think that it's that she was lying, or that it's just something that the medical community, like I say to a doctor, do you know what MK Ultra is? And they say no, and that freaks me out, because how can no one not know that? Do you think that it was something that she really legitimately didn't know, that many in the medical community don't know what it is?
I think that the mental health infrastructure, and having run a nonprofit organization for mental health awareness and worked in that infrastructure with for multiple like community services boards as a contractor, there's a huge gap of knowledge between neurological health and mental and behavioral health.
That was what you wanted to bridge that gap.
Part of it, yeah, that was a huge part of it, yeah, and to help understand that mental health is part of health, and sometimes things that may appear to be something caused, something that looks like a mental illness is actually a vitamin deficiency,
right?
Nutritional deficiency, or like electrolytes. There's lots of things that can cause people to act funny, so I've never been diagnosed with bipolar. Like my Daryl, who was my mentor, he used to say I was bipolar, and he was a clinical therapist. He had he worked for the U.S. government. He helped. He was one of the architects of the remote viewing program.
Okay.
You
know that they also will misdiagnose.
Sure. Oh yeah. I mean, like I went into the doctor when I first got back to Virginia because I was having gallbladder issues, and I was trying to get that. I went to a nonprofit health provider, and it took me like 6 weeks to get in to get the first appointment set. And then I went there, and it was like 2 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. They're like, "What are you doing here? We don't have patients on Friday afternoon." I had to reschedule again, like another 5 weeks later. And then I went in and talked to the doctor for the first time, and I asked him if he had any knowledge about the symptoms of bipolar that are caused by an endocrine dysfunction. And he said no. He didn't know anything about that so much. And then, but then every time I returned for my gallbladder issue, he would say, "Now we still haven't done anything about that bipolar."
You know, I'm gonna tell you, I really have. I've had my share of really bad doctors. Matter of fact, the one I had before I got this one, I swear to God, was trying to kill me. But my doctor that I used to have, when I first lost my leg, they sent me to a psychiatrist. Don't know what for, but they did. And this man sat there for 25 minutes trying to convince me how depressed I should be. And I looked at him and I said, well, when I first woke up, there was people crying at my bed and I told them to shut up. My socks will last longer than theirs. You know, I didn't have any depression over it. And it's almost like they try to convince you that you have a problem when you know you don't, and then don't want to take care of the ones that you do have.
No, because you know what they get, what the reward is by falsely diagnosing you, is they can drug you now. And they can send you to a myriad of drugs, to other doctors that will drug you. And now you're on the rodeo circuit, so to speak. And you get doctor shop from doctor to doctor, and each doctor finds another malady that's not real. And then they'll add another drug onto that retinue. And then before you know it, there's 50 drugs that you're on that you never needed to be on. And you have to take 10 drugs to ameliorate the effects of the other drugs that they put you on, because it's a pill mill. And then when they put you on those drugs, number one, if they put you on any kind of depression drugs, they can actually cause, they don't tell you this, they can cause suicidal ideations. Then also in the recombination of all of the different drugs, they can actually mimic certain psychiatric situations in which they can then label you falsely. And then if you're off all those drugs, you don't have those symptoms anymore. And they'll say, hey, you're hallucinating. And you're like, really? Because you put me on 6 drugs that cause hallucinations.
Well, you know, they had put me and my ex-husband both on an antidepressant drug. And we would wake up in the morning and just look at each other and want to strangle the hell out of each other. So I went to the doctor and I said, you got to take us off of this. And she's like, why? I'm like, because it makes us mean, both of us. We want to kill each other when we wake up in the morning. We didn't have that problem before. So change it, get rid of it, what have you. But now I won't let them put me on anything like that, because I've carried all my life. I'm not going to be put on something that's going to alter that. You know, I always believe I got the right to defend myself, and I'm not going to have somebody say, well, we got to take that because, you know, you're crazy. So, you know, but that stuff with Tommy, I mean, I can totally understand it. They don't want to get to the actual problem that you have, you know, with my eye. They want to replace the fluid in my eye with artificial stuff so I can see again. And I'm like, I don't want artificial anything in my body. And they said, well, you have to come in once a year and get it changed. I'm like changing blinker fluid? Ha ha ha. You know? No, I'm not for that. I think I would rather be partially blind than have artificial stuff like that put in my eyeball. That's too close to my brain. I don't want to play that game. You know?
Tommy?
I'll deal.
Did you
I'm sorry,
Tommy. When I was at Virginia Tech, following the Gator Bowl, which was my sophomore year, Um, I started having some depression actually the summer between my true freshman year and my redshirt freshman year. Even like while during my true freshman year, I had I developed mononucleosis, and the team doctor kept he kept diagnosing me with strep throat and treating me for strep throat with antibiotics, and then he kept I kept having strep throat, so he kept giving me stronger and stronger antibiotics. And then my aunt, she was head of the she was the secretary for the electrical engineering department at Tech, saw me on campus and was like, "Whoa, what's wrong? Are you okay?" And she called my mom, said, "It looks like he's dying." And she said, I'm not telling you what to do, but if it was my son, I'd come get him. And my mom came and picked me up, took me to my general physician, and they tested me, and I had mono, and I had it for months, and had been practicing football every day, and lifting weights, went all through the maxes and everything, and then they immediately ordered me to bed rest, and like I stayed at my parents' house, and then my mom would drive me to my classes, and then pick me up, and then I'd go back to home. This was immediately stopped, and I had been taking like 80% of the snaps in practice against our defense, which was the number 2 defense in the country at the time. But they went 2-8-1 that year. So I never really fully recovered from that Epstein-Barr. Like it just once we have that, and then it like all those antibiotics stripped all the probiotic out of my gut biome, and that caused my first like severe depressive episode. And it got worse that summer when I was an orientation leader in between, and then the following year, like was my redshirt freshman year, and that's the first year I played. And second game of the season, I'm leading the nation in scoring. And then for the next 6 weeks, I led the nation in scoring, and I didn't have any joy in any of it because I was depressed. So then, and I just drank and went out and just just that was my way of dealing with it, I guess. And then I got it that spring. I got into a fight at a fraternity house where I went with my best friend and his girlfriend, and he was the head coach's nephew, but we had known each other since high school, and so we went to see a band that one of the guys in the band went to their high school, so he winds up punching some guy that grabbed his girlfriend inappropriately, and it was one of the fraternity guys, and they all jumped on him and had him on the ground stomping him. And she runs upstairs to get me and said, "Brandon's getting killed," and they're killing him. And so I ran down 2 flights of stairs. The first flight from the second floor of the house down the first floor, and then down in the basement. Going into the basement, 2 steps down the stairs, and then I hit this pile of people that moved like 10 feet immediately, and then somebody went flying this way, and until I got found my friend, and then I wound up getting charged with malicious wounding. From the incident, and so I beat up a fraternity, and super soldier training kicked in, and so I ended up having to do some community service that next summer, and had horrible depression that whole summer. I lived in a house with those same 2 people, and they didn't interact with me after that. Like it was really bizarre. And they found religion real hard, and then it was just kind of a hypocritical situation. The only reason I'd gotten in trouble was trying to help my friend not get, stomped to death. And so I had pretty severe depression all that summer. And then that next season, we had another successful season. I didn't have nearly the season I had before because I had greatly reduced just role. And even though I started some games, in the second half of my freshman year, I didn't have much of actually active. That's why after 6 weeks, after the 4th game, I didn't play much at all, other than a couple plays here and there. in several games. But so after the Gator Bowl, we played Peyton Manning and Tennessee in the Gator Bowl, and they beat us. And get back to Virginia, and that New Year's Eve, I remember I was just horribly depressed. My girlfriend was down there. I was trying to avoid her, and just trying to avoid everybody, and I was just not happy. And so shortly after that, I started having it was like a slow motion nervous breakdown going on. So then in January, at some point, I just quit going to classes and quit going to practice and workouts. And I just watched the movie Apocalypse Now over and over on a loop. And then
if you weren't depressed, that'd depress you for sure.
Yeah. So then I got called in to talk to the head coach, and he had me meet him at his house. And Frank Beamer is the guy, and he was one of my dad's teammates when my dad played at Tech. And my dad had been kind of instrumental in the beginning of his coaching career there in rallying the troops and getting people involved in the program and going to games. And like when I had a press conference and announced I was going to Tech, their season tickets sales increased 350% in less than a week. And it was a big deal, and then I also challenged other players in the state to stay in state and to build like these powerhouse teams, right? Like other states had, and I had been recruited by everybody. But and Tech was like we're 80 something in the nation ranked when I announced I was going there. We were 79th after my freshman year when they went 2-8-1, and then at the beginning of my freshman year when I led the nation, we're 78th in the nation, and we finished in the top 20. And we beat Indiana in a bowl game where I scored a touchdown. My dad and I became the first father-son combination to score rushing touchdowns in bowl games in NCAA history. And all this was a big deal to everybody but me. And I just couldn't enjoy it. And so I went to meet with the head coach there after that the Gator Bowl there, and he said, I told him I was depressed and I needed some time to kind of figure things out. And he said that the program didn't have time for me to be depressed.
They didn't have time for you to be depressed. I'm sorry, the dogs are barking out here, but I wanted to ask you, did you notice that there were any teammates that you had that were also suffering from similar depression?
Oh, lots of them. I mean, and they would run guys off. I mean, there was a personality conflict, or they didn't like you. They would just make your life hard. Make it difficult. And that summer when I had to do that community service, when I didn't work out the first half of the summer because I was doing this community service, and I needed a break. It was we worked out and practiced 7 days a week, which the NCAA states that you have to have one day off. And our day off was a voluntary workout on Sundays. And you could either do that or you could show up Wednesday morning for punishment workouts. So when I came back in that summer, they had been working up towards, so they called it phases. And it was like more and more stuff until you get to this one, the phases in the end, which are the hardest, And the first phase of the second summer session was the last of the phases. It was like the testing phase. So I came into that cold, like I hadn't been working out. And it was the last thing that we were doing for that. It was like you run 10 hundreds, then you run, 8 200s, then you run like 5 400s, and then you run like a half mile or something like that. And you have to get it all within a certain time limit, or you don't pass. So I was running the last part of it, and I literally passed out from I had exercise-induced asthma, and I had an asthma attack, and I passed out and collapsed face first in the grass. And when I woke up, there was nobody around me. They had moved the drill down there, and they were doing the warm down stretches. Typically, there would be a trainer there with my inhaler that I'd had since 6th grade. Anytime I did any type of athletic stuff, and the trainer would always have my inhaler close by just in case. And I woke up face down in the grass and thought, I could have died, and they didn't give a shit. And so then when I came in after that summer, at the beginning of camp, they're like, "You're overweight." I was 235. Okay. But I had like very little body fat. I've been lifting weights like crazy in this program that caused you to bulk up. I still ran a 4.4240 at a 35-inch vertical leap. I hang cleaned 400 pounds. I squatted almost 600 pounds. And, but they said I was too heavy. So they put me on the training table with the linemen that would come in too heavy. So it was like a bunch of punitive bullshit as a way to coerce and control you. And I wasn't I'm kind of a nonconformist, if you can't tell. So I didn't like the regiment of, the militaristic style where everybody have to look like an automaton, so I was always skirting the edges of like what we're supposed to wear, like when we travel. And, I wore a tie and a shirt, but I also wore like Birkenstocks with socks, and different stuff like that, like just as a way to have my own identity. Like I never wore the workout clothes and stuff that they gave us to wear, that the guys wear every day to classes and stuff like that. And I dressed like I would any other place if I wasn't playing football, I wore my own clothes. And they didn't like that. I had grown my beard out a little bit, trying to grow my hair a little bit, and they bitch about that. And then by the time I got to Boise State, my hair was this long, And but so he tells me that the program doesn't have time for me to be depressed. Now, 14 months earlier, he told me that they couldn't have done without me. The win at the Independence Bowl, and it was the quickest ascension of a college program like in the history of the NCAA. And then he went on to have Tech went on to have 27 straight bowl appearances, which is like tied for third of all the schools' records of all time. The number of consecutive. I think like Penn State was one that was up there too with Joe Paterno before he was dethroned and disgraced and died after the Jerry Sandusky stuff. And they took the statues of him down and all that stuff because he didn't report the sexual abuse of those children in the facilities there under his watch. And they recruited me pretty heavy too. And Sandusky was actually would have been my coach because I was they wanted me to play strong safety, and he was the defensive coordinator. So he tells me it's no time for me to be depressed. So I went back to my same family doctor that had treated me for mono and told him I was depressed and needed something, antidepressant or something. He said, "We got something for that." And he put me on Zoloft. Within a week of being on Zoloft, I started having suicidal ideation.
Right. Now, here's the one thing, Tommy. They don't tell you. They don't tell anyone. The populace believes, oh, well, this is the panacea. This will stop my depression. It will make me happy again. They don't tell you, oh, by the way, the byproducts of this is that you could kill yourself.
I was coming back from the bars at night. I wasn't going to classes anymore. And I wasn't going to practice anymore. I was going out drinking because to have a social life to try to feel somewhat normal. But then I'd come back. I was so depressed even when I was doing that I didn't have that charismatic energy that I had always had before. Well, I was kind of the life of the party, Touchdown, Bobby! Man, shoot, I was driving yesterday, and somebody's getting off the bridge as I'm getting on the bridge, and somebody leans out of the car and goes, "Touchdown, Tommy!" You know, it's like I didn't know who the hell it was at all. No clue. And last time I went to a Tech football game, I hadn't even gotten both feet out of the car before somebody yells it. And the game had already started. So most people were already in the game. So and that was years ago. That was when I still had the nonprofit going. Yeah, so I was coming down from the bars and sticking a loaded 12 gauge in my mouth and then taking the safety off.
That's insane.
And the only reason I didn't blow my brains out is because I thought it might embarrass my parents, and it might look bad on the program. That's how fucking brainwashed I was.
And I just want to make a statement here so that we don't get kicked off of YouTube. We are not advocating in any way, shape, or form
No, not at all.
to unalive yourself. That is not the purpose of this program. As a matter of fact, we're staunch advocates against that. And this is a testimony in regards to what psychotropics and drugs that are prescribed in the psychiatric community, what kind of effect they can actually have on you. I am not a doctor, so I will preface it with that. I'm not saying that if you're on these drugs that you should get off of them. This is just a personal testimony from people that have actually been through this.
That's
And
correct.
I mean, so much so that Congress had to that they designated that the drug companies had to put black box warnings on these drugs because there's a high potential for unaliving yourself and unaliving someone else.
Yes. Now, I'd like to take a little bit of a turn. I want to go back to the swatting. I'm sorry, the dogs just won't stop barking. So
You're fine.
So let's go back to the swatting. How did that happen?
Okay, so I got this like custody order from my kid's mom from Kansas, and that was delivered to me by local sheriff. Right as I was getting ready to leave to go to New Jersey to visit my girlfriend at the time for her birthday, and like I was going to have to go through Pittsburgh on the way there to drop off some lamp posts to somebody, and then shoot across the other direction. And I couldn't find something, so I ended up having to call the police because I had some stuff that was stolen out of one of my trailers, one of my enclosed trailers. I was missing like a heater, you know, that somebody had stolen apparently. And while they're there, they had this sitting waiting to try to bring to me, but it had gotten, you know, wasn't much of a priority apparently. So, but I got that. It was from my kid's mom, and it said that's when I found out it was a school resource officer that had kind of like aggressively encouraged my sister to go to the magistrate. So, and then I had also found out in between then that the entire staff at the hospital in Marion, Virginia, had been briefed that I was coming there the day before I had been picked up to be evaluated to see that it hadn't even been determined that I was going to be going to a hospital. So
Was this predicated on the swatting?
well, the swatting was me finding out this, and then I posted about the criminal conspiracy that I had been subjected to by these people in my community, by these authorities that had abused their positions and committed color of law crimes, and doing so, and denied me my civil rights, and committed hate crimes in the process because it was associated with disability, that being brain damage from my CTE. Did
they say that you were headed towards a school?
Yes, they said they told the SWAT commander in New Jersey after they illegally pinged my phone, after illegally breaking into my house, after also illegally breaking into my safe at my house.
What was the purpose of that?
Well, they said they got a wellness check because when I posted about the criminal conspiracy that I've been subjected to, within 15 minutes, the dispatcher from the police station called my phone. I'm like, "Are you guys just watching my Facebook feed or something? Like, what's the deal?" She says, "You got to take that down off Facebook." I was like, "Why? It happened. That happened to me, and people in the community need to know this. That these people are abusing their positions, and it's ridiculous. You know, like, and that, I mean, it's criminal that you're calling me to tell me to take it down. That's a violation of my First Amendment rights. I said, am I committing a crime? And she said, no. I said, well, why don't you, well, would you mind, you know, just respectfully go fuck yourself,
Nice.
you know, and leave me the fuck alone. She goes, well, are you home? I said, no, I'm not home. I'm out of town. Where are you? None of your fucking business. And so the next day, the police went to my house, kicked the door in. They said it was standing open, and I just gotten a text from my cousin who just fed my dog, and then left and secured my house. And it's like they must have watched him leave, and then went and kicked the door in. They said when they got there, the door was standing open, and because it was for a wellness check, by law they're required to go in to sweep the house and make sure there's nobody injured or dead. Or I'm like, are you talking to me on the phone? And they talked to me on the phone for 45 minutes. Are you on any meds? Do you have any guns with you? I'm like, no, I don't have any guns. Do you own guns? Yeah, I own guns. Do you have any with you? No. Where are they? None of your business. They were under my bed. I don't know how they didn't find them. They opened everything else. Looked in every other place. I mean, they opened my safe.
Why did they open your safe?
Because they were illegally searching my house. And my safe had a bunch of marijuana in it. But they didn't take it because they couldn't. But they did crumble some on the floor in front of it and left it safe sitting open. It was locked when I left it. So they had to search my house so thoroughly that they found the paperwork for my safe that was in a box upstairs in my office under 8 other boxes, all the boxes full of different stuff, files. That's how thoroughly they went through stuff. So, and they're also illegally pinging my phone as they're talking to me on the phone. And once they determined the location where I was, then they contacted the authorities in Bergen County in Hohokus, New Jersey, and requested a SWAT team be dispatched to apprehend me, saying that I was armed, homicidal, most likely headed for school. This was like 10 days after the Parkland shootings. Okay, so they essentially tried to assassinate my character, and when that didn't work, and I stood up for myself and spoke up for myself, then they tried to assassinate me by lying to.
That's insane, man.
By
I mean,
lying,
to say that you were armed and headed for a school after Parkland, they wanted you dead.
Yeah, and so and they sheltered in place. Businesses, homes, and schools for 6 hours in Hohokus.
You know what,
Now,
Tommy? We're at the top of the hour now. So we're finna to take a break. Everybody get a 5-minute break and get yourself some coffee and, do the things that you need to do in those 5 minutes.
Yes, I do like those 5-minute breaks.
my phone's plugged in now, so it won't die.
That's a miracle. Good.
Yes.
On that one.
It was plugged in last time.
Yeah, well, last time we lost you, and then you came back and you didn't have a face. So,
Yeah.
but,
Eyes without a face.
No more human race. Eyes without a face.
all right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and take us a break, and we will be right back. So stick around.
Break it down. Break it down. Break it down.
And we're back.
And Tommy's not. As soon as he's done, you and me.
I had enough time to go and start my coffee pot, right?
Yes.
So I did that.
I saw
and
you
then
sitting
it
there. Did you
decided
see me
that-
dancing?
It decided it wanted to take its freaking time making my coffee, and then I had to run to go grab my to take a shot, and I didn't get to do that. So
Tommy is the
I
invisible
see.
man, but we do have his guitar, which is a stand-in.
I was going to say I see his guitar. Woohoo!
He
You
left
can
his
ask the guitar
stand
any questions
standing
you
there
want.
for him.
That's right. That's right.
I
It
don't
was
want to be
saving your
drinking liquor
place.
on the camera.
It was keeping your seat warm, Tommy.
Yes, it was.
It
Actually,
was.
Lucy, my resident ghost, and her ghost dog were keeping the seat warm there.
There you go.
I do have a little girl ghost at my house too.
I love
Lucy.
mine. She's great.
Yeah, she'll have friends that come visit. She'll go home with them sometimes.
See how he is. What a vagabond.
Yeah, she
Mine's
loves,
from-
and
mine
she'll
is
bring,
actually-
she'll bring friends back, but ghostly friends, and not always good ones.
Mm,
We had to have a talk about that.
Germany.
yeah.
Mine's
Figured
from
out how to
Germany.
bring it went home.
It's funny because if anybody comes into my house that she or might be bad that I don't pick up on, I know because she's scared and she won't speak. She'll just point. So
No ghosties are allowed here. No ghosts. No ghosts of past, present, or future.
are you
Mine,
afraid of them?
they don't like somebody. She don't like somebody.
Afraid? No, I just don't want them in. There's not enough room. I'm sorry.
They take up a lot of space.
Not enough room. Okay. There's dogs that come in and out, and thank God we used to have I can remember times when the horses came up on the porch. That scared the bejeebies out of me. I would be calling,
Bringing them in the house.
the horses on the porch. That should be a
I would
song,
be-
right? The horses on a porch, Tommy.
The horses on a porch. Tommy, write a
Right.
song. The horses on the porch.
The horse is on the porch. The horse is on the porch.
Of course, the horses on the porch.
They heard that song, "Beer from My Horses,"
Yes,
and they're like,
right. Beer for my horses. Give the horse a beer because then he'll get off the porch, or he'll
That's-
fall off the porch.
That's what'll happen. You know, I'll have my place
Drunk horse
and
falls
I
off
will
the porch.
open the front door and Susie will be out there doing feeding, trying to figure out she's missing a horse, and it'll be in my house having
True.
carrots.
To that, yes.
I love them.
As
long as they don't put-
Except if you've ever heard a horse on your porch, it's frightening. All right,
Well,
it's not
as
a
long as
cool
they don't
thing.
poop on the
And then
floor,
how
we're
do you get the
okay.
horse off the porch without the horse breaking its leg? You can't push it off the porch.
well, you can, but it might not like it.
No.
Yeah.
Susan, how do you get a horse off the porch?
You have to turn it around and walk it.
Well, talking about horses on porches, did you see in Brazil the big news about that horse that was stuck on that roof for 6 days?
Yeah.
Now, what was
That
it doing up
barn?
there?
How to get there?
There was a tsunami and it came in and it flooded the whole city of Brazil,
Oh wow!
killed a whole bunch of people. Just happened, and
But
this
the
horse
horse
was
was safe?
stranded on a roof for 6 days. They rescued it. It's okay now, but it looked pretty bad.
Brent said that horses drink Colt 45.
That's
Yeah.
hysterical.
You didn't know about what happened in Brazil? That
No.
flood?
No.
Move.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
They showed the inside of a
it's
church.
bad.
Susie, you sent that to me. Inside of a church was totally destroyed. And up where the Poulter is, there was a cow standing up there out of the water. Smart
Yeah,
cow.
I sent you that church where the cow went into the church and was standing up in front of the altar to keep from
Holy
drowning.
cow.
Holy
That was a
cow.
holy cow.
That's what it was. Holy cow.
But they rescued that horse, but that horse couldn't move. It was stuck on the peak of the roof because the water was all the way up. And if it hadn't been on the roof, it would have drowned it. And that horse stood there for 6 days with no food or water. Well, it could have
That
water,
was a
but
smart horse because he knew if he went into the water, he was going to get washed away and drown. So that was a very smart horse.
When Nashville flooded in 2010, downtown Nashville, real bad flood, there was a church that literally floated down Interstate 65.
Oh, well, it was getting the word out, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was evangelizing.
Yeah.
The church
right.
was evangelizing down a.
We were going to
Slow
go to that
church
church, but it just came and went. I don't know.
And then in 2000 or in 2020, when there was a hurricane that hit downtown Nashville, it went right past my house. It took out the steeples off of 4 churches that were within like 4 or 5 blocks of my house.
You think that was a message?
I think it was. I was supposed to have driven in that night, and my the fuel pump on my van was glitching out, and I had to stop and rewire it in Bristol. I'd crawl up underneath it and like run a new connection for it, and then I drove back to a friend's house about 30 miles from there, back in Virginia, and stayed the night, and then left my van, and we took her car and gathered up the stuff I could. It was right before they did the lockdown for COVID. So it was like a,
Do you think that was a message though that the steeples of 4 churches went down?
I think it was pretty weird. And then one of the steeples was sitting perfectly on the ground next to the church. On the ground. It was wild. Like it was that was over in East Nashville. As they call it, East Nasty.
Do you remember that incident with the individual who blew up his car?
Christmas Day.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit about that? Were you there?
His girlfriend had called the FBI a dozen times, warning him to tell him that he was planning on doing that.
Were you there at that time?
That was a psyop. No, I was in Virginia. It was Christmas Day, but I was in Virginia. But my former handler Frankenstein, told me that was a psyop. It was over in Antioch, and there's a lot of like broadcasts going on over there. There's an Air Force base, and they're bouncing signals off of there's a lake right there. They're using that. They were using that as a way to extend the signals of these, like basically like voice to skull type messages, like subliminal stuff, over into Antioch, which is kind of not the greatest area of Nashville, but I mean, it's not. There's a lot of nice people live there. I got a buddy that I was visiting out there when I noticed that this person named Frankenstein had commented on a post that he had posted right after I left his house. He worked on my van, and I bought him dinner, and then we hung out, and I did an interview for the documentary I was working on. He was a professional kickboxer.
What documentary is that?
For CTE. That's kind of what got me. That was started what got me talking about making that when I started getting, initially getting targeted, and then after I put out the Goodman Project 5-part series, then it was overt. I was being followed back and forth from Virginia to Tennessee, and had an FBI agent flash his badge at me while he was drinking one night at the bar.
In Nashville?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of feds in Nashville. I just want to I want to read a little bit about. I know that for a fact. I want to read a little bit about the 2020 Nashville bombing, so people that don't know what it was. And that's what they're calling it in Wiki, believe it or not. I didn't know it even had like a title. On December 25th, 2020, Anthony Quinn Warner, which is interesting, right? Warner, as in like Warner Brothers, it's a German name, detonated a recreational vehicle RV bomb in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, United States, killing himself, injuring 8 people, and damaging dozens of buildings in the surrounding area. It took place at 166 7th Avenue. I think there was a friend of mine that when he was Nick Albier. I think he got arrested in Nashville. I think he was held down there.
It was 2nd Avenue. It was right in front of Hooters.
Yeah, it's 166 2nd Avenue, north between Church Street and Commerce Street at 6:30 a.m. Adjacent, and this was the thing that I looked at, adjacent to the AT&T network. That was what I looked at.
It blew up the major switching hub for all that part of the country. Like all the calls were routed through there.
That's what I was gonna say. Did the according to your friends, did all of their telephone services go down?
Oh yeah, and like that guy's dad had worked there, but that he specifically targeted that. It was and that was a psyop. He was like a Manchurian candidate.
Right. So it says people near the RV heard gunshots, and the loudspeakers on the RV warned them to evacuate before the bombing, which was felt miles away. That I found just like, what? So they warned you for hours, leave the vicinity, I'm going to bomb you. And like no one came. Right? Like, you're going to get bombed, leave the vicinity.
The police station is right up the hill from there, like maybe 4 blocks away.
God. The FBI determined that Warner, a Nashville resident, was the bomber and acted alone. It says the explosion was caused by a car bomb carried in a Thor motor coach Chateau RV that was parked outside an AT&T network facility on 2nd Avenue in Nashville at 1:22 a.m. on December 25th, 2020. 4 to 5 hours after the RV arrived, people nearby were awakened by the sound of rapid gunfire and at least 3 bursts, followed by a computerized female voice broadcasting over a public address system. All buildings in this area must be evacuated now. If you can hear this message, evacuate now. Stay clear of this vehicle. Do not approach this vehicle. And your primary objective is to evacuate these buildings now. Were also some of the messages that were broadcast from the RV. At least it was probably a very sexy female voice. I don't know. The broadcast warned that there was a bomb in the vehicle. A 15-minute countdown elapsed, and the speakers switched from snippets to the 1964 song "Downtown" by Petula Clark.
What?
Downtown. We're gonna blow up downtown.
That's ridiculous.
When I worked there, I used to park at the top of the hill in an alley there, and I would skateboard down Second Avenue to work every day. right past there.
It says responding to shots being fired around 5:30. So he started this at like 1:22. Okay, he started it at 1:22, but the cops came at 5:30. Two police officers arrived at the area, although they did not hear any shots. You know, at 1:22, they could have killed the entire town. And then the police tell them, nope, we don't hear no shots. I don't know what they're talking about. They did not hear any shots. They discovered the parked vehicle and heard the warning. They and 3 other responding officers subsequently evacuated homes in the area and called in reinforcements, including the Hazardous Devices Unit bomb squad, where a 6th officer stayed on the street to restrict pedestrians. 2 of the officers investigated. I'm sorry, that song's in my head. At one point, and observed the camera positioned above its. Did they use that song in Apocalypse Now?
I don't remember. Maybe.
I'm sure it was downtown. They said that they were playing that song while they were going and bombing places. The vehicle exploded at 6:30 a.m. while the bomb squad was on its way to the area. You know, at 1:22. I'm just going to ask you, Brenda. You were,
dumbest thing I ever heard. You know, the call they made next door when they knocked on my door. We got a call at 5:30 saying that there was a domestic disturbance. They showed up at my house, knocked on the door at 8:45. They just got here. And I'm looking at them like, well, you're a little late, ain't you?
Did you stop for dinner and cheeseburgers and a haircut too?
Right? And you know, it was a weekday, so I know they weren't busy. So yeah, and when there is something like that called in, everything else gets dropped. I don't care what it is. You're on the side of the road arresting somebody, you unhandcuff them and tell them they got lucky, and you get in your car and you go to where you're supposed to.
So what in your estimation could have possibly kept them from 1:22 to 5:30?
They wanted it to happen.
Says 8 people were treated at hospitals for injuries and later discharged. 3 of them sustained non-critical injuries, including 2 of the officers who had been evacuating residents. So while there's a lady singing downtown and saying, "You must evacuate now. Please evacuate now. Leave your trays in an upright position because you're going to all get blown away downtown if you stay downtown." And that entire time, then the cops come at like 6:30. The vehicle explodes at 6:30 while the bomb squad's on its way. Hello, like, okay, thank you for coming.
The police station 4 blocks away.
You know, when you look at everything that happens, whether it's a mass shooting, a bombing, whatever, they say they have the information, but they don't do anything. They don't. But they don't because, well, they're involved. It's supposed to happen. They call and say officers do not respond right now. That's exactly what they do.
It says one video posted to social media appeared to show debris from the bombing landing on a building about 2 blocks away from the initial location. At least 3 vehicles burned after the bombing, and at least 41 businesses were damaged. At least, and one building located across the street from the site of the bombing collapsed. That's weird, right?
AT&T, the AT&T switch building.
Oh,
yeah.
Do you think that building was orchestrated to collapse before any of this happened?
Probably.
Structural engineers deemed some of the buildings in the areas to be safe by December 29. I wouldn't be going in them. The bombing caused structural and infrastructural damage to a nearby AT&T service facility, which contained a telephone exchange with network equipment in it, resulting in AT&T service outages across the United States, primarily in Middle Tennessee. Although the facility's backup generators were rendered non-functional because of fire and water damage, communication services initially remained uninterrupted while the facility was able to run on battery power. However, outages were reported hours after the explosion, with significant service disruptions in the area by around noon. Cellular, wireline, telephone, internet, UVerse television service were affected as multiple local 911 and non-emergency phone networks in the region, along with National's COVID-19 community hotline and certain
Yeah.
hospital systems. T-Mobile also reported interruptions to its service. The Memphis Air Route Traffic Control Center experienced communication issues, leading the Federal Aviation Administration to ground flights from Nashville International Airport for about an hour. You know, when I see stuff like this, you look at all of the, and this is what I'm going to tell the people that are watching. You look at all of the collateral damage, which it's affected for specific reasons. And when I see something like Federal Aviation grounds flights from Nashville International Airport for about an hour, I wonder who was supposed to be on that flight. Why did they miss that flight? Did they get killed in a parking garage somewhere? These are things
Right.
that you never know as just a regular citizen, because you're not observant and you're just like, oh, look at the pretty fireworks, and you know, and you're not actually looking deeper. So I'm going to ask our audience, anybody who's watching here, please become a researcher and research everything. And if you suspect that something's out of sorts, whatever it is, please research it, because that's the only way that you're going to be, and then post it on social media like Tommy did. Of course, you know, the repercussions that happen to Tommy, they're not actually, you know, the best things that can happen to you, but
Right.
do the truth thing. It's good for your soul, and you may actually help other people by revealing some of these psychological operations, right, Tommy?
Oh yeah, like a big part of the DSM is written to disguise and to facilitate the political abuse of psychiatry.
Yes.
Like Voice to Skull mimics and seems a lot like schizophrenia to the untrained person that's not in the know. And those technologies there have been patents for those since 1972.
Next week, Tommy, we're going to have Amy Holem on.
Yes.
Amy Holem's going to be on for 2 weeks of it. I believe she's going to be on Friday.
Amy's audio.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I need to talk to her. I met her on a space one time.
Yeah.
And
You're welcome to come in. She's here for 2 weeks.
Actually, he's on that night that she's on.
Well, it's actually he and Tommy are switching alternate nights.
oh, okay.
So we just have
he's not next Friday.
no,
the other
he'll be the
one is-
following Friday, but she's both Fridays.
Okay.
She
Well,
will be on both Fridays.
yeah, you're more than welcome to come on if you want to.
Yeah, you can come
Yeah.
on. So Amy is on our show. Amy Holem, if people don't know who she is, Amy's Audios. She's on our show every other Wednesday, and then she's also on the Dark Outpost. I'm working on the theme song for her. I don't know what it's going to be, but I said it should be know when to Holem, know when to Folem, know when to walk away, and know when to run.
Yeah.
And Amy talks about how she can help people. She does audio digital fingerprinting. You can find her at Amy's, that's AIMEE, audios.com. She was an MP at one point, and then she became a targeted individual. And so she has developed a methodology for being able to determine how you're being electronically targeted through a rigorous system of frequencies, testing frequencies. So she can literally, see that. She talks about, cockular. If you haven't seen her, go to theawakenation.com, and that's our website. And then look on the Wednesdays. It's every other Wednesday. She's at the last guest on the show. And look her up and see some of the things that she talks about. Also go to her website. She has posted pictures of people that have been targeted by laser weaponry, direct energy weapons, and the Havana syndrome. She knows the doctor that's in Miami that's responsible for one of the doctors, which was contracted, I believe, also under the Biden administration, to speak on the Havana syndrome. which it was in Havana, Cuba, where there were U.S. embassy employees that were targeted. Also within our own White House on our own soil, it happened as well. And these weapons do exist. So what is unfortunate is
Tommy
that
knows about those.
they are targeting American citizens illegally and torturing them illegally. These are weapons which our U.S. military does employ and deploy. They're also researched under DARPA, which a friend of mine, George Webb, who's on our show, he just talked about the inception of DARPA, which actually was ARPA, but he says it was always DARPA because it was always under the auspices of the DOD. They called it ARPA, then they added the D, but it was always DOD, Department of Defense, working on advanced research projects. And those projects include MK Ultra, mind control, and anything that falls underneath that with the technology in which they employ MK Ultra endeavors and propositions. And there are thousands upon thousands. Brenda, did you want to say something?
Actually, Tommy, I was going to let you know that that thing that we talked about, they're checking into it.
Okay, awesome.
So hang tight. Give them a little bit of time to run and see what's going on.
That thing.
That
Whatever
thing.
that thing is.
Organizations checking on other organizations that are checking in on me all the time.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to put Tommy under an umbrella.
Well, you know, the Umbrella Corporation is a real thing.
The Umbrella Academy.
Yeah. I've seen that. That's pretty good.
So anybody that wants to see Amy, she's going to be on next Friday. Me too. And you know, I say I'm not a big fan of man. I'm a fan of Jesus Christ, but I am a fan of Amy's. I really am. She's an extraordinary individual who is helping people, and you can take the results of her studies to court to actually prove
Forensic, yeah.
Yes, forensic digital analysis and fingerprinting, audio fingerprinting. She also has she can show you where the police have this technology as well, and where a lot of other individuals that are perpetrating these psychological operations on people. And she had one thing that she talked about on her show where there was a group of people, and one of the people said, "I'm not going to be a part of this. This is murder." And that person left, and then they said, "Well, that's what we do. We murder people." And if you can trace that to, you know, if you find out that it's people that are in your own policing forces, is that not frightening?
Oh, it is very.
I've been dealing with it for at least 6 years.
Yeah, I've worked with some pretty. I was going to leave. It was that bad. I loved what I was doing, but I was going to leave because it was that bad. And you know, I think sometimes things happened on purpose, but you know how it is when you can't prove that, and you know.
Yes, I was married to a retired police officer, so you know, at one point I probably would have been running in the opposite direction from him, but he was sent to me, and he was an expert in interrogation. He was an expert in mind control. He was an expert in incarceration. They teach you certain techniques for interrogation, and they employ those techniques. They also, I'm sure he also knew neuro-linguistic programming, and he only had his AA. It wasn't like he was, you know, a brainiac or anything, but he was taught skills. He was also a DRE, drug recognition expert, which, you know, he should have been an expert at drug recognition because he never met a drug that he didn't do.
Right.
And he was on everything. He was on morphine. He was on Oxy. He was on, you know, Valium, Vicodin. He was on everything. And he was.
I'm allergic to all of that stuff, man.
Certifiably insane.
Morphine stops my heart. They found out. Oops.
By the time I left, he was certifiably insane.
Yeah.
And you know what the most egregious insult was? He was a fake Christian, Brenda.
Mm.
There's a lot of those. They talk a good talk, but they're not Christian. They don't have any Christianity or any love of Christ in their hearts. They're dubious, psychopathic individuals, and they're bent on your destruction. And they're sent to you as handlers. Tommy, you want to comment on that?
Oh yeah, lots of them. Thick. They're thick in this area. Most of my gang stalkers are seem to be like Pentecostal or evangelical Christians. But also, I mean, there's some other folks that are just greedy. And this is, I mean, the folks that they think they're doing something that they're being. They get wrangled in through through InfraGard and through people that go and they also recruit criminals to do some of the criminal activity, and they give them leeway. They don't, they'll look the other direction.
Oh.
Well, let them do things,
Yep.
And part of that's to the attrition of that they exert on the targets. They see it as a bit like just a bonus that they can keep whatever they steal.
Susie, do you want to weigh in?
I was just thinking about that dream I had the other night about 3 spies.
What was it?
Ooh.
Well, I don't really want to say,
Okay.
Oh.
but one of them was a color, that's kind of between black and white.
That's funny because I told my husband Steve the truth. I said the truth is the truth. He said, "Well, sometimes the truth isn't black and white. Sometimes it's gray." And I said, "No, the truth isn't. The truth is the truth. There's no gray area in the truth. The gray area is the lie."
Well, yeah, pretty much. What do they call that? They say the gray area is just the small little white lie.
Right. And it just like somebody had told me about someone in the truth community. This individual was in England. I will not say his name. I will not say the person we were speaking of, but I said, this person tells lies. And he said, well, he only tells white lies, Benny. And I said, Nick,
A lie's a lie.
white lies are lies.
Yeah.
It's a lie.
A
Whether
lie
you're saying
is
it
a
to
lie is a
whatever you're
lie.
right.
I mean,
You're saying it to protect somebody. It's still a lie, okay?
Now,
White lies, black lies, are just lies.
look, they use the white lies for small children. Santa Claus is coming tomorrow.
Right.
The Easter Bunny left the eggs. Now,
Right.
those are still lies.
There's still
but-
lies that could damage your life. What if you thought the Easter Bunny was real and you were like 90 years old waiting for the Easter Bunny
used
to
to-
come over?
I used to think Santa Claus was going to come in the house while I was sleeping and steal my shit.
Yeah, you're like, what do you got against the Easter Bunny, woman? But that now today it's all about the bunny. It's all about going down the rabbit hole.
Oh, yeah. It's a different bunny.
Yeah,
It's the same bunny,
there's a whole bunch of different shades of gray on that one.
right? Hairs of gray.
Well, the
actually.
problem is if they lie to you once, then how could you ever trust that you're not going to get lied to again? And then how would
Right.
you know unless you have discernment or God told you? But how could you even go down the road further with that person knowing that they've already been lying to you? So at that point, it's just time to check them off and,
It's just a disbelief.
But we don't believe in our first instincts a lot of times, and
But we're told not to.
these days, yes, we're told to live in a state of denial. Like, was it Pam Tillis that did Queen of Denial? I sang that song. But we're told to ignore our instincts. And these days now, and Susie can tell you, some people, not everybody, but some people, I shake their hands and I'm like, oh, your people knew Hitler personally.
yeah. And then you shake their hand and I have a dream about them.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
She hugged me and I was okay.
Yeah, you were good. We were
I had a
good.
roommate years ago whose great uncle was one of Hitler's physicians, is Wickstaff Terry. And
See, that's where it started, Tommy. It started with your family knowing Hitler.
mine didn't, but that was like.
I'm saying that's where it started. That's the genetic.
Oh,
as to probably why you're targeted.
Mhm.
Because somewhere in there, your family worked with Hitler, or
All my
even
family
associates of your family.
I got you. You mean
Thank you.
that were still in?
Thank you, William.
Yeah. Now I'm a descendant of William the Conqueror, so I think that there may be some.
So that's probably why you played football.
And Oliver Cromwell.
Oliver Cromwell? I don't think he was a good person.
There's lots of not good people that are in our family trees. There's another one that
Oh,
was
that's true.
That's
that-
true. My family tree is Joseph Mengele, so
a Confederate general that happened to be a traitor of people.
It does say,
Benedict Arnold?
Jesus says that your enemies will incarnate into your own family. Your worst enemies will be that of your own family.
that is true.
My family tree kind of broke. I think Bigfoot pushed it over.
Well, you got
Family
generals
tree
in your
broke.
family. You got generals in your family tree.
Your family tree broke. That's about a
You've been
statement.
shaking your family tree lately. Some peaches
I've
fell
been
down.
I've been shaking that family tree like nobody's business.
It's amazing,
Given
'cause
a very exotic tree.
I didn't find out who my family was until I left my husband in 2016, and I said to him, "God will take care of you. I don't have to do a thing," because I did want to hurt him, but I didn't. I don't want to go to jail, Tommy. And so I said, "God will take care of you," and He did, and He is no longer on this plane of existence. Thank you, God. I'm thankful for that every single day.
Yeah, there's some people shouldn't be around, but it's if you take them out, there's always the risk that you won't be either.
Right?
I would say don't ever do any
Con-
violence. Don't do the violence. Don't pray.
No,
Ask
no.
God. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Ask God to clear the way for you from those that are your enemies that are bent to do you harm. Under the umbrella of Jesus Christ and God, He'll clean the clocks of your enemies.
And the hedge of protection,
Yes.
Yes.
an invisibility bubble.
Can
That's
you go
what I
invisible
need.
again?
I need an invisibility bubble to keep me from throwing phones in my eyeball and falling down when I go to the bathroom. And
Yeah, that is true.
bubble wrap.
Hey,
That's what I need.
right?
So now, Tommy, let's go back a little bit because we've got maybe 20 more minutes.
SWAT
Let's
team.
go back into a little bit more of your story. And then we also want to tell people that starting next week, you'll be joining us as a co-host.
Yes.
So,
You graduated.
so you'll be able to ask questions as well. And this evening, we were supposed to be joined by our regular co-hosts on Saturdays. So if either one of those co-hosts doesn't show up, you can co-host for them as well. And today we were told that Brian Sang was going to a convention, which sounded very exciting. And he said he wasn't sure if he was going to make it or not. So I want to get back to that article because it was a really good article. If anybody wants to find this article, it was July 27, 2019. It's entitled, it's under the Good Men Project, and it's entitled All American Touchdown Tommy Edwards Serializes His Story. And it's a wonderful article, and it's she broke it down into 5 other articles.
Yeah.
It says, while Tommy's story may not be unusual, his passion is. He understands and freely discusses societal and family pressures that pushed him into football. He analyzes the circumstances that manipulated his decisions. He explores his addictions and self-medications. The most important thing to take from his account is that he is neither unique nor alone. He speaks for hundreds, if not thousands, of players who have had similar experience and after effects. I'm going to ask you now, Tommy, if somebody wanted to come and contact you and they had experienced something like that, how would they do that?
Online, probably the best way to do it. They can email me at touchdowntommyedwards@gmail.com. Is one way. They could find me on Facebook under Touchdown Tommy Edwards or Instagram, Touchdown Tommy Edwards. YouTube. I don't know if you can message me there, but that's Tommy Edwards, 70 or 7260 or 7062. Yeah.
And then also, if you want to get an expedient message to Tommy, you can text me at 619-779-9771. That's 619-779-9771, and I'll make sure that he gets the message. The scariest thing is how many of this country's current tackle football players will be going through the same end game with no support from sponsors or owners for their current and long-term health care, financial impoverty, or family stress. Commodization, use them, abuse them, and forget them. Why? Contact sports are the opiate of the oppressed, stressed workers. Keep them happy on their days off by watching players destroy themselves for entertainment and a gold mine for the owners. Brain damage is real. It diminishes, if not outright destroys, any hope of a quality life after the game is over, including relationships, family, careers, and unaliving yourself. When considered a contact sport, choose wisely. You can only get one brain. Keep it healthy. So this article, it's the intro, which I just read from. Part 1, Tommy Edwards, All-American Exile, Societal and Family Pressure. Part 2, Tommy Edwards, a child becomes a legacy. A football legend is born. Part 3, Tommy Edwards, Manipulation, Conspiracy, Grooming, Genetics. Part 4, The Downward Spiral, Brain Damage and CTE Symptoms. And Part 5, Welcome to Hell. That does not sound fun. Science, CTE Deniers, and Football Traditionalists. So you can find that article if you Google.
Touchdown Tommy Project.
Yes. And you know what? I sent this to you, Brenda. So if you can put it in the notes, so anybody that wants to review that article can. Tell me, what are your thoughts on what is happening in our, and it's not just football, but it's any kind of contact sport. People often would say, well, this person's getting paid millions of dollars to play this game. But what happens after they can't walk anymore, or they're in perpetual pain for the remainder of their lives, or they have brain damage? Does that couple $1 million actually help at all?
No. And a couple $1 million, I mean, guys blow through that in no time. You know, I had one of my teammates was a first round draft pick quarterback, and you know, he wound up playing a couple seasons in the XFL after a while. Like he had like rape allegations and all kinds of stuff that happened while he was in the NFL, and like it was you know, went back when he was back visiting Virginia Tech. You know, it's awful. I mean, like Michael Vick, he was one of the top players ever to play there in the NFL, and you know, he had some poor choices that happened with who he let stay in the property that he owned, and wound up you know, doing prison time for, you know, for dog fighting and a bunch of different things that he personally didn't have anything to do with. You know, it's awful. Like there's you trading your future and your quality of life for money doesn't equate. You know, like I went to a neurological rehab at the Eisenhower Center, and it's after the Impact program. It was funded by the NFL and the DoD, and that's where they actually got my EEG brain print and how they started targeting me. Was when I was there. They actually assaulted me when they were doing my brain mapping, to the point where I got double migraine behind both eyes and felt like I'd been kicked in the testicles and stomach and threw up. And that gave me a brain injury. The way they manipulated the different frequencies, or the different waves in doing that.
Wow. And
I never saw a doctor the entire time I was there. I had MRSA. I got MRSA while I was there. Wasn't allowed to see a medical professional. It wasn't until I pointed out some HIPAA violations and showed them pictures that I'd taken on my phone, they decided that I passed with flying colors and could go home now. That was in Jacksonville, Florida. And like Mike Ditka is on the board of that, and Dan Reeves, and a bunch of other folks there. And it was the football players that were there, other NFL guys, former NFL guys. One of them was one of the horsemen at Georgia, and he had like pre-dementia symptoms. He's just a few years older than me. Another guy played at Texas A&M with the same class, and he remembered he was all pro with Denver for years, and he had no cartilage in his ankles, and the NFL had just denied him disability that he had for years, but they reclassify things, and suddenly you don't fit that classification anymore, so they stop giving you the benefits.
I would like to ask you, in the NFL,
Not for long.
they put the players back on the field, of course, broken and hurt and injured, which can cause for further injury. Do they drug them out?
I mean, they do it. I mean, I had a hip flexor in high school, and before the game, a hip pointer, and before the game, the coach told me that they had a cortisone shot there ready for me if I needed it, so I could play.
Which means if they put that in you and then you play, then you'll damage
You can't
even further.
Yeah. I mean, if it's something that, yeah. And I interviewed the head of sports medicine from Virginia Tech from when I played there, the one that misdiagnosed me as having, strep throat, and like he misdiagnosed one of my teammates with having food poisoning, and his appendix had burst.
Holy shit!
Yeah, he ended up emergency surgery that night. Yeah, things like that. It was, and I got his whole story, like how he became a doctor. And it was, I mean, he just fell into it, And then nice guy, he didn't mean to do this stuff, but he also said that some guys, if they could deal with the pain, there was ways to wrap the ankle to where you get in there and you play as long as you could deal with the pain. They wasn't going to damage it anymore, But I mean, one of my teammates, he had a cortisone shot every game. You're not supposed to have more than 3 in the same joint ever. he was getting every game, so he could play.
So that means that it's permanent damage to their bones. What about the impact from just being hit?
Well, that's the thing is CTE is not. I mean, concussions damage, like they create cognitive issues. And, like every day of practice, I would see white flashes when I hit people, and that's your brain bouncing off the back of your skull and your occipital lobe. So like that's a form of concussion that they don't recognize as concussion. And even if you got a concussion, you didn't tell on yourself, because then you were just you're a wuss. You just got your bell rung, get back in there.
Right.
And so, and then you're at risk of getting post or second impact, which can cause death. Like my first game at Boise State, I had a concussion and experienced Wernicke's aphasia. I couldn't understand what people were saying. Like I started jogging off the wrong side of the field, and one of my teammates grabbed me and pulled me back into the huddle. And it wasn't until we're on the way to the line of scrimmage. I mean, they had to like cart off the defensive back that I knocked out, so that took a little bit of time, and it was the end of the quarter, so we had to switch into the field. But my brain rewired itself in between the happening and then the break with the huddle and us going to start the play. I grabbed the fullback and said, "What are we doing?" He said, "Same play." I said, "I don't remember," but it sounded more like He said, "Follow me to get the ball."
Oh my God. I know it's not funny, but geez Louise.
And the thing is, I was afraid to say anything because they'd be like, "Well, he's on drugs."
Right.
And we were all on drugs, except the really staunch Mormon kids. And there were like 4 or 5 of them, But I mean, like my visit to Boise, I ate a bunch of mushrooms and had an out-of-body experience.
Did you guys ever do anything on the field? We only have about 9 minutes left, but I just want to say, did you? I know in the bands, that there was a rule in the bands that nobody did drugs unless everybody did those drugs.
Yeah.
Right? And because if you're on stage and one person's on, mushrooms, I remember one time the the bass player was on some kind of drugs, and we're playing at Aesop's Fable in Riverside, and the guitar player broke 2 strings. He had a backup guitar. He broke 2 strings. He broke the one on the one that he had, and then so he had to restring his guitar in the middle of a set. And so I asked my brother David to come up and tell a joke. That's a whole nother story. But the bass player said, "Well, I don't care if you guys want to take a break," and he put his bass down and walked off the stage. And I said, "We're not on a break, we had to finish the set." So I actually called out in the audience and said, are there any bass players in the audience? And thank God there happened to be one. And then I told the drummer, "Now go get the bass player and bring him back." And he passed out in the bathroom. And then I said, "Are there any drummers in the audience?" And we had a drummer come up. So,
You had a whole new band by the end of the night.
right by then, are there any keyboard players? Are there any singers?
Right?
Keith Moon, when Keith Moon ate all those horse tranquilizers,
Yeah.
Right?
he was like, "Is there a drummer in the house?" He said, half of what I took. He took 6.
I would say the next time you'd go play a gig somewhere, you'd make sure that there was like, Van Halen's band out there watching.
Right.
That way
That's
you
why
can replace
I
everybody.
have this premise: always have a backup for your backup. Okay, it came from somewhere, and have a backup for the backup.
That's right.
Because you never know what's going to be happening. So, when on Awake Nation, when David wasn't there, I had 5 co-hosts. Okay, did I need all 5 co-hosts? Not necessarily, but 2 would get sick, and then you're down to, and then another one, has to leave because so you're down to like 2 co-hosts.
I had a storm the last one and had my house flooding.
Right?
It was like, damn.
So you'll always prepare for, always have a backup for your backup. And if no one has had that saying in their retinue, please add that to your sayings. Have a backup for your backup.
All right, we're going to go ahead and go through and do the roll call. Penny, where can people find you?
Well,
Everywhere.
You can find me here on Beyond the Box, and we are every Friday and Saturday night. So we're an evening show, and if you're watching us now and it's daylight, I don't know where you are. Okay, maybe you're in Alaska. I don't know. But we are from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central, and from 10 to 12 Eastern time. And I only do those time zones. So if you're in a different one, just figure it out. Okay, you can Google it. You can Google it. And then I'm on the Awake Nation Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And that's Central. And then that's 9 to 12 noon Eastern. And you can find us at the David Zublik channel on Rumble. We broadcast on X. We also broadcast on BitChute and Pilled. And we're going to start broadcasting on some radio as well. And then you could also find us at the Dark Outpost at darkoutpost.tv, where we have individuals such as Susie Hott, and her episode is Hot Shots. And she's also on the Awake Nation every other Friday. Also, Tom Althouse. We invite you to go to David Zublik's channel on Rumble, and there's an episode that Tom did, which is just breathtaking. And
say the least.
To say the least, or to say the most, or to say nothing at all. And it's free. So we're giving you a free episode of that. And then Susie just did a Dark Outpost, and it is also equally breathtaking. And we're going to be putting that out there for you. It's a free, kind of a freebie to get you to join the Dark Outpost. It's $30 for a year. And we have exclusive interviews and documentaries and intel that you're not going to find anywhere else. It's a reasonable proposition. Part of that funding goes back into pay for the website, etc. But we also support to fight sex trafficking. One time I said we support sex trafficking. No, that's not what I meant to say.
Well, then
I was tired that night. And then if you want to contact me and you think you want to be on Beyond the Box, or you would like to be on the Awake Nation or the Dark Outpost, please text my phone. It's area code 619-779-9771. Again, that's 619-779-9771. And you can also contact me via email, although I mostly do everything on my phone. I'll see the email go across my screen, but I might not necessarily click on it. So the best way to get me is on the phone. And also text my phone. I will not answer unless you're in my contacts. Tommy, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook at Touchdown Tommy Edwards, on Instagram Touchdown Tommy Edwards. I'm locked out of my ex account right now.
You too? So is Tom. It's the tale of two Toms. Tom's
Yes.
Tom Althouse is locked out of his ex
Hold on.
too.
I've got a new one that I set up. That's like Tom Edwards with some numbers. Let me pull it up. Also, if you'd like to donate to help me get to Florida to the Disclosure Now conference that I'm speaking at and performing at.
And that's Brian Singh, who was supposed to be here this evening as a co-host, but he's at another convention right now. And so he has a convention that's going on in Florida. Do you know the dates of that convention?
That's July 15th to the 18th. And I'm going to be speaking there and also performing. Let's see.
Cool. So it's the Disclosure Now movement, and
disclosurenow.org.
And it's at disclosurenow.org. Is it disclosurenowmovement.org?
I'm not sure.
Okay, how can people donate to you? What is your?
They donate to me on through Cash App at hashtag Dr. Gonzo Bing Bong, and the G and the B. The D and Doctor and the G and Gonzo are capital. The
Dr. Gonzo Bing Bong. Dr. Gonzo Bing Bong.
My secondary X is Tom Edwards 79400. And my OnlyFans is Tommy Edwards, but it's only pictures of fans, so they may be disappointed. And it's like oscillators and like ceiling fans and
right. Okay.
But also, I sell my artwork.
Where do you sell your artwork?
I sell it everywhere that art is sold. I mean, just online. I've got stuff up and in person generally, but people see things that they like and Instagram has a lot of my stuff on it.
What is your Instagram?
It's Touchdown Tommy Edwards.
Okay, so they can go to Touchdown Tommy Edwards and they can take a look at your art, and if they'd like to purchase some, I know on Instagram they have a little thing that they can click on and they can email you.
Yes, they can communicate with me that way. But
and if you'd like to donate to Suzanne Hott to help her with her rescue animals, it's bowarrowhorses@yahoo.com, or for dogs also. And then you can either text her for her PayPal, which is at the bowarrowhorses@yahoo, or Shepherd Entertainment at gmail.com. And Shepherd is SHEPARD. That's
all
it.
we need
Very good. What's that?
all we need is love.
Love.
All we need is
love.
Is love. That's right.
All we need is love.
Susie, you've been quiet tonight. What's going on? You all right?
I'm here.
I've noticed that.
All right, everybody. We are going to go, and please join us tomorrow night.
We're not going to be here tomorrow night, but you can join us anyway.
Oh, wait. Is today Saturday?
Tomorrow night.
I don't even know.
Are you ready for Friday again?
I'm working on tomorrow's show.
Next Friday.
I am getting a little concerned about all the brain farts I've been having lately. It's like, oh my God, wait a minute. I don't even know what damn day it is. Okay, so next Friday, we will be here. Hopefully, Brenda will remember what day it is. And we'll be all right. So please join us next weekend. And like always, please be kind to one another. And we will see you later. Bye-bye.
God bless everybody.
Goodbye for now from Beyond the Box. Inside, outside, upside, downside, beyond the box. Please join us again for Beyond the Box, Friday and Saturday evenings from 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. to midnight Eastern. Join us for more intel bombs with our extraordinary guests.
Break it down.
Inside, outside,